Good afternoon. Today we will be reviewing the landmark case of Wisconsin v. Yoder, a case that challenged the First Amendment's Freedom to Religion Clause. This week actually marks the case's 50-year anniversary. So let's begin with the facts leading up to this case. 3 Amish families in Wisconsin removed their children from public schools after they had graduated from 8th grade. By Amish standards, state education was no longer necessary after the 8th grade because their children learned a lot about their Amish culture and traditions by spending their subsequent years immersed practicing Amish customs and their way of life through vocational training with their families. If you aren't familiar with the Amish, they are a religious group that is known for their simple and minimalist living. They choose not to use many forms of modern technology. The Amish value rural life and manual labor. Additionally, these families were deeply concerned about the harm that these 2 additional years in secondary education would have on their children. The influence of worldviews and ideas their children would be exposed to in high school, which ultimately opposed the ideologies of the Amish, promoted values that were contrary to their religious beliefs. The problem with this philosophy was that the state of Wisconsin had a compulsory attendance law that mandated children be enrolled in a school setting up to the age of 16. Since these children were not yet 16, the state deemed these parents out of compliance with state statutes, subsequently violating the law. The parents were ultimately fined. The case went to the courts, which all agreed with the state, with the exception of the state Supreme Court, and in 1972 it came before the United States Supreme Court. So what was the constitutional principle at stake? Jonas Yoder and the other parents he represented argued that Wisconsin's compulsory education law violated their First Amendment right to the free exercise of their religion. Requiring his children to attend to the age of 16 took away from their community during formative adolescent years. However, Wisconsin argued back that the state had a compelling interest in educating all children of the state, and that the interest trumped the Amish community's right to free exercise. The case challenged individual liberty versus social order, or what is good for public interest. Specifically, does the state have the right to make laws for the educating of their children? Yes. Are the Amish families in this case right to want the government out of their religious practices? Also yes. So which of these is a more compelling case to the Supreme Court? In a unanimous decision, 7-0, the court ruled in favor of Yoder, arguing that the state's interest in educating children should not trump the ability of Amish families to exercise their religion freely. This is part of the Free Exercise Clause in the First Amendment. The state's law interfered with the Amish's legitimate or sincerely held religious beliefs. So yes, this case was considered a violation of the First Amendment's rights of the Amish family, and the court acknowledged that for the Amish to send their children to school for those 2 extra years would be a very real threat of their way of life. In his majority opinion, Chief Justice Warren Burger said this: "However strong the state's interest in universal compulsory education, it is by no means absolute to the exclusion or subordination of all other interests." So why does this case matter? It matters because it sets the tone for future cases involving the clash between state interest and the free exercise of religion. Additionally, after this case, the homeschool movement and more non-traditional schooling gained a lot of traction. There were subsequently more educational options for families instead of just public education. And that is Wisconsin versus Yoder and its impact on education in relation to individual freedoms. For more information, please visit the following references. Thanks for watching.